Ever wondered how ChatGPT and other chatbots understand and generate human-like text? Today we'll be talking about large language models, LLMs in short, and also unlock the secrets behind how they actually work. And we'll be talking about, can you actually create your own LLM? So let's start with the video. So let's start with the beginning. Let's understand what actually are LLMs. Okay. So this video is going to be a very interesting video where I'll be talking a lot about LLMs, and it won't be a lot technical. It would be in a kind of funny way. So stay tuned for the entire video. So let's talk about what are LLMs. LLMs basically stand for large language models. Okay. So basically in this video, these are the topics that we are going to talk about. Firstly, what are LLMs? Second, how they are built. Third, what is the tech stack used? Fourth, why is the need for LLMs in 2025 and 2024? And the last, can you create your own LLM? Because at this point of time, many people think like, can we create our own LLM just like ChatGPT? So we will be talking about that as well. Let's start. So what are LLMs? LLM stands for large language models. Okay. So these are basically large language models. These are basically the models that are trained on massive data sets. Okay. Massive text data sets. Okay. And they predict and generate human-like text. Meaning these are some models that we give input as a text. Okay. And we give the text input as, it can be as large as, let's say, 500 GB. It can be large as 500 TB, so that we can train that model and generate a response out of it. And these LLMs are used for a large scale applications and for large scale products. For small scale products, there are something called SLMs. Okay. These are small language models and LLMs are large language models. So the next question, how are they built? Ever wondered like how are they actually been working in the backend? How are LLMs actually built in the backend? This is one of the questions that I also had in mind when ChatGPT released, and I had been deep diving into how are LLMs built. And this is the easiest explanation I think you will be seeing on YouTube on what and how are LLMs built. See, there are four major steps that take place for building an LLM. The number one step that we have here is the data collection. Okay, so the first step is the data collection, because without data you can actually not build LLMs. Correct? You need data to generate, or you need data to train your model on. Okay, so the first step is to collect the data collection, wherein we collect and gather huge amounts of text data. As I said, it can be around terabytes or petabytes or zettabytes of data based on what your LLM wants to work specific on. Because there are different use cases for which we can create your custom LLMs, and based on that use case, you can gather as large amount of data as you want. So the first step is collect all data. The second step, now when we get a data, okay, the data that we get might not be a clean data. Okay, so let's talk about what exactly is clean data, and let's just discuss about how the clean data would be like. Let's say this is how you get the data. Okay, as I said, you want to clean that data. So the data will contain some rows, okay, and there would be some empty rows which are not actually needed. There would be some rows where we want where the data is null or zero, okay, and then would be the other data. Now when you are training any kind of a model to train that model, you have to give that data which is like a clean data. meaning there are no null values, there are no zero values, there is no unstructured value. So you kind of have to give that data which is structured. Okay, so that step comes as pre-processing the data, wherein we clean and format the data. Now, what does that mean? Here we kind of remove these things which are like the null values or unstructured values or unwanted values. Like when you are passing data, you will be seeing like there are data sets where we have something called SR number, like the serial number or the log file sometimes. So these are the things that are actually not needed for training your model. So what we do here in the pre-processing part is we kind of remove all the things that are not needed from your data set. Okay. So that is the second step where you entirely do the pre-processing and cleaning of the data. Okay. So if you don't clean your data, it's not cool, bro. You always have to clean your data. Okay. Now, the third step. After cleaning your data, you are feeding your data to your LLM. Okay. The third thing is to train that LLM. Like you have to use powerful GPUs or TPUs with deep learning frameworks. Now, what you mean by training? Let's say here we have, we'll take a very simple example, and I think this is the most common example that that is being used to kind of explain this particular topic. Let's say we have a data set. Okay, this data set consists of images. Okay, images of, let's say, images of cat. Okay, it's not only 6 cat images, there are like 600 cat images. Okay, so what we are doing here is we are kind of training the LLM model based on different images of cat. Like there would be one cat which is like light in color, one would be dark in color, and based on the size, the species, everything. So we are training our LLM on these cat images. Don't mind because I am just writing with the help of mouse. So we are training our LLM based on the cat data set, and we want that whenever we give a different image of a cat, it should just differentiate between, yeah, this is a cat and this is not a cat. Okay, just for a basic example. So let's say this is a cat A, B, C, D, E, and F. And when we are giving a input as, let's say we are giving input as D. So what the system should say? It should say it is a cat. Okay. So what we are doing here is we are actually training our model. Like if this image is there, this is cat. If this is image is been given as an input, this is a cat. If this image is given as an input, this is a cat. So this is for a one particular uh, data set. This is talking about the cat data set. Now that data set could be a different data set, like it could be a species of animals, a species of like the cat family, like the lion, tiger, and all those things. It could be around the animals as a category, like we are training the data set based on an animal and we are giving a human as an input to differentiate between, yeah, if this is animal or not. So this is how we train the LLMs on a given data set, and these data set could be different based on what your use case is. So for this, what we do is we kind of use GPUs, graphical processing units, or something called TPUs. TPUs means tensor flow processing units, because what this takes is a lot of high computation power to train that data set. Hence, there are GPUs and TPUs existing. And as we see, like in this point of time, there are a lot of new laptops coming out with high power GPUs like NVIDIA 16, not 1650, 4090, 5090. I personally use the 1650 Ti. It's like an old version right now. But yeah, you need GPUs and TPUs to train your LLM model. Okay. Now, so the third step is now that you have to train the model, because guys, even robots need training, even the laptops or even the computers need training, because they understand only 0 and 1. They don't understand what we are speaking in English or what we are speaking in Hindi or anything like that. Now, once you have trained your LLM model, The next step that comes over here is fine tuning that model. Okay, this step is for a very particular use case, because what happens is, if you are, let's say, if you are a content creator, okay, and you want your data to be around, all around content. So what you do is you give a specific prompt on, yeah, this is what I want you to do, this is what I want you to do, the steps, like whenever I give this kind of an input, you should always give this input. So this is what we call fine tuning an LLM model. Okay, what we do here is we kind of customize the model for a specific task. Okay, if you go to ChatGPT, if you go and write a prompt that you are someone who is expert in creating Node.js applications, your task is to create applications such that they are helpful, they are worthy of kind of calling it to be a production code, and also you have to generate the alpha beta test cases for that particular application. And when you give that input to ChatGPT or any other LLM, what it does is it will only give you inputs based on that particular prompt. So what we do here is what we call as fine tuning. Okay. Now, if you take a different example, like let's say I want the ChatGPT or I want any other LLM to talk like the way I talk, to behave like the way I behave. So what I will give as a prompt is, if I give you this input, you should tell me like this, because this is what Aditya talks like. This is what Aditya behaves like. So if you want your LLM to kind of work any specific way, what you do is you kind of fine tune it. So yeah, what we call here is fine tuning. So these are the basically the 4 steps that takes place for like training or working how the LLM works. The first is the data collection. The second is pre-processing and cleaning the data. The third is training the data. And the final one is fine tuning it. Okay, I hope this one was very easy to understand. Now, what is the tech stack used behind LLMs? Don't worry, it's one of the easiest tech stacks. Not easiest, it is one of the interesting tech stacks that you can come across. So let's meet the team behind how the LLMs have been made. The first one, the thing that is most important for LLMs to run upon is the hardware, because without any kind of hardware, the high processing, the high computation, the high complexity won't be managed. So the first thing comes across here is the hardware, where we use GPUs and TPUs. Okay. Now, next comes the software. What is the software that is used here? So the software that we use here is TensorFlow and PyTorch. So let's understand what TensorFlow is. Okay. I'll just go into the website and I'll just explain you right from over there. So what TensorFlow is? A TensorFlow is basically an end-to-end platform for machine learning. It basically makes it easy to create ML models that can run through any kind of environment. Okay, so it's just an end-to-end platform for machine learning models. So the next one that is used here is basically PyTorch. PyTorch is basically a library that is used for building deep learning models. Okay, so it's not like we only use TensorFlow and PyTorch. There are a lot of different things also being used here, but these are like the main components that are being used. So the next one comes as cloud platforms, because you have to kind of host everything or process everything over the cloud. So we can use AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure. There are many different cloud platforms, but these are the main things that I use. Now, next is, what are the algorithms being used here? The algorithms that are used here are basically transformers. So the GPT word that has come recently is coming from the word called transformers. And the earlier that the transformer was used was the BERT transformer. Now, what does GPT mean? GPT means generative pre-trained transformer. So this is basically the team behind actual LLM being worked. Okay. So now, why is there a need for LLMs? Why did LLMs come into picture? Because if we talk about 2 years back or 3 years back, there was nothing called the word LLM was not in trend as much that is as in the trend right now. So why is there a need for LLMs? Okay, these are the 3 major points that I have written, and I think are why there is a need for LLM. The first one is managing enormous volumes of text data. okay, to manage enormous volumes of text data and to kind of get the work done very easy. LLMs are needed, the first point. The second point is virtual assistants, chatbots, and translation tools. These are the translation tools is why LLMs are needed, is because whenever we wanted to translate something from one language to another, what we used to do is go to Google Translate, and everything to be done. But what if we want to translate, let's say, a ebook of 10 pages into a certain kind of a different language? There we did not have any kind of software which used to do that. So there is one such reason why LLMs are needed. The chatbots are also one of the important or one of the crucial features why LLMs come into picture, because now it kind of reduces a lot of human efforts. There are a lot of AI agents or AI companies that are being built based on these chatbots, wherein they kind of support or help technical support for 24/7. And it kind of, if you go towards the human aspect, you kind of don't get any technical support 24/7. Okay. So the last point is automating content generation and code assistance. As a developer, I think you also might agree on this. Like whenever you are building a code or building any kind of application, rather than building it, your most of the time goes into debugging the entire thing. Like if you change something else, there is some issue over the other file, and you kind of take a lot of time debugging it. It's like there are memes that come across like it takes 6 hours to debug an entire code, and like something like that. So that is also one such reason, and also to automate content generation. Okay. Now, the main question: can you create your own LLM? Is it possible? There are some challenges while when it comes to creating your own LLM. The first point is like it requires vast computational resources, expertise, and time. As I said, it needs very huge amount of computational resources, and the GPUs and the TPUs that I'm talking about, they come very expensive. So if you are someone who has a lot of like capital with yourself, this challenge won't be for you. But for someone who has a question like, can you build your own LLM? Yeah, this is one such challenge that you might come across, and you will come across, because the computational resource is very high, and it takes a lot of time as well to kind of create your own model, train your model, because you have to train models on very different data sets. Next, there are some alternatives. If we talk about fine-tuning existing models like GPT-3, GPT-Neo, rather than creating your own LLM, you can kind of save your time by using alternatives like GPT-3 and GPT-Neo. And also there are open source tools like Hugging Face and other community-driven resources wherein you can use different kind of models available over their website. I personally go to Hugging Face and use a lot of their models, because I think this is one such place where you can get kind of everything needed for your particular application, and it kind of has everything, and different things are being integrated, like talking about multimodal, computer vision, natural language processing, audio, tabular, A to Z. So I think using softwares or using so I think using alternatives like Hugging Face is a big yes for everyone who wants to go for LLMs. And there are many such LLMs that you can run locally. One such LLM that I personally run is something called Olama. Olama, I use it for my local purposes. I have created a lot of automation scripts that particularly use Olama, so that my manual task is kind of automated. And yeah, I think this is all about using and creating your own LLM, and not creating your own LLM, but I think a lot of things have been cleared at this point of time right now. And yeah, one such thing that I would like to say is, guys, um, it's kind of 350 plus videos that we have created on our channel, and I think it's all about it's all with your support, and we are close to 3K subscribers, and I would really like you guys to kind of subscribe to the channel and check out all our videos, and do let us know in the comment section what you think about how we can improve over this. And yeah, this was it for the video. If you like the video, Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And see you in the next one. Until then, bye bye.